Great, so yeah, today we will talk about a lot of things. But first things first. No, actually no. Like, this thing is important. About breakfast. We Brazilians, we love like beans. Like, we really love. But I was talking to Will, and you guys really love it because you even have it for breakfast. I was impressed when I saw it for the first time. And when I went to the restaurant for the second day, they also had beans for breakfast. So that was amazing for me. And even like if I live in Germany, so they even have like sausage. So it's like a good combination. But another point is it's about coffee. Well, yesterday I went like to a coffee shop to buy something, and then I just asked for like a coffee with milk. And then it turns out that you guys have a lot of different kinds of coffee and milk. And the guy was trying to explain me, and actually I think it was too much for me. And in the end I just said, okay, so espresso, and thank you. But talking about like going into the topic of the talk today, I would like to invite you to think about your childhood. When you were like between 8, 15, and think about the favorite movie that you had. You have a few seconds to think about it, and then you look to the person close to you and tell to this person, what was this movie? And what's the most interesting thing about this movie? What did you like about it? You have 5 seconds and interact with people. Pet. No. Good? Okay. For my point of view, those movies were those 3 movies here. Did anyone have the same movie? No one? Come on. Okay. But like the most interesting thing for me between those 3 movies was how the actor, he could change himself a lot to basically look like a different person between those 3 movies. And you know, like, for example, I don't know, I think 8 years or 10, when it was released, this Edward and Scissorhands. And later, almost like 10 years later, when I was watching Pirates of Caribbean, and I realized that was the same person. I actually didn't believe, so I needed to do a search, and it was actually true. Like this guy. And like, as I mentioned to you, how incredible he could change himself between one move to the other and look like a different person, behave like a different person, but under the covers, he was the same guy. And that's the point where I wanted to have the same power in the components that I was creating and in the applications that I had. And to start, I will tell you a true story. This guy, he's called Bruno. He was a friend of mine. We used to work together. And yeah, he's a developer as well. And his responsibility was to maintain and take care of a huge application, like really big. And this application was like responsible for a lot of things that the company had, and full of features, full of different things like this. But it was a problem because it wasn't like a smaller application, so it was really difficult to maintain, like really difficult. And it was also a monolith, so it was like this, like backend and frontend together. Sorry. And Bruno, at some point, he decided that he wanted to change and make things easier. So he found something called micro frontends. That's another topic. But basically, it would be pick all these features that we had in the application and then somehow try to create a new application that was like smaller and had single responsibilities. And it would be like smaller. It would be easier to maintain. And somehow we reached the goal that we had. But, and of course, Bruno was happy again. Like afterwards, he was like, man, it's really good. Like it's so easier to maintain now. But at some point, he found out that he was repeating himself like 3 times per week and writing the same component basically across different applications. So it was, at some point it was getting annoying. And every time that he was like writing this new component somewhere else, he was having like a new approach for it. So it was really bad at some point. We had like, I don't know, the same component 5 times across like 2 applications. So it was a lot of copy and paste at some point. And besides that, all the applications, they didn't show that they were owned by the same domain. So you could go like from one application to the other, and then you found out that like one application was using, I don't know, one UI library, and the other one was using a totally different UI library, and it was really complicated. About like to show the users that they were under the same domains here. And it was something like twin brothers, but from different parents, or something like this. And at that point, another friend of us, Sebastian, he was reading about something called styled components. And he was like, man, you know, we could create some UI library and then share this UI library across like our applications using an npm package. And we also needed something that would give us a possibility to change the appearance of the component sometimes. And also in that time, I joined to the team. And it was like something like almost 1 year or 1.5 years ago, actually. And we started creating this UI library. It was like some internal project, and then we did it for a while. And after a while, we said, like, you know, we found this solution for the problem we had. And of course, a lot of people have like the same problem, or something that's related somehow, so why don't we just share it and show what we did? And Bruno was happy again. That was the point. That was the main reason why we did that. But that was the first name of the UI library. It was like the name of the team I was working in React UI. It doesn't sound good, right? It sounds like boring, you know? So to change it, we just like call it by Luna UI. And that's the reason why I'm here. Like, it's a project that we did together, and then I'm just like showing around how we solved this problem and how this problem, like the solution we had was like easier, and in the end of all was really good for us. And like I will show you about 3 topics that for me it's really important when you when you go to use some like third-party library or something like this. It's like, how is it built, and how easy is it to use, and also what's the benefits of using it. Going to the first topic, as I mentioned to you, like we were working with React already. So we just had the same question, like the first question, like what should we use to it? Like glamorous, emotion, like styled components. But at that time, like almost 2 years ago, like 1 year and a half, we decided to go for styled components first, because we didn't have like a lot of experience with CSS and JS, and also like all the things that we wanted to do. And styled components was like the most supported by the community. And it's a really important thing, because of course you need to search on Google for something, right? And besides that, we also use like Jest, or Jest, as in Germany they say, and yeah, and like everything together. And like as I mentioned to you, I also needed some way how to change the components, the looking field of the components. So this is one of the features that we most used during like the development, and then I'll show you like how. And how to use it. It's really simple. First of all, you don't install this package. I was talking to you yesterday, and like when we published it, we tried to publish the package, we found out that there was a project called Luna UI already. And it was really hard, but then I just tried to talk to the owner. Actually, I didn't have like a good answer. So we just changed the name, not changed it, but we just added Luna UI lib. So if you wanted to install it, it's super simple. You just install it like this. And I'll show you now how simple is that to use. So after installing it, you will go to your, can you see well? Hands up. Good. So it's super simple. You just need basically to import this guy here. This is the most important component that you should import, the theme component, because it will provide. It's basically a theme provider that will like give to all the children components the information about the theme. Like, so basically you have this standard that we defined for like looking fields of components, but you also can just override it and add a new parameter called like theme, and then you send your JSON file, like a simple JSON file with the color definitions. We have like a generator for it, so it's even easier to create this JSON file if you want. But for this presentation, I will just use the standard one. And afterwards, like all the components that you create and that you import from the UI library later here, they will have access to the theme because of the theme provider we have. So I have this really small application here. It's like one of the screens of the application I created, and like it's super simple to use. So if you go here back and see, like in the header, for example, that we have, the header was, well, so the header has like this customer info component. That's another component. And then we are importing like the button component, for example. And you can have also some properties that will change the color or sometimes even the behavior of the component. So, for example, if here in this component you want to add like click actions or submit actions, you just like add here as a new parameter, and then it will work perfectly without any problem. If you go to this customer info, it's like this top left part. It has like a lot of things because it has a lot of CSS stuff, but basically it's importing like this handler for use for images, for example, that we created. So you can define if the image is like round, if it fits in the size of the image wrapper, these kind of things, just to make it easier to render like images for us. And we just have like this other informations here. And besides that, what we have more? Yeah, this other one here, the content actually, that is only basically rendering like 2 tables, and that's it. Nothing special. It's working as a wrapper. And those tables are basically like a lot of other components we created, like for example this table component, which will take care of the tables and then make sure that they will be also responsive, and it was also like really important for us. And like badges, pop-up menus, these kind of things. So if we go now, the application is this one basically, and can someone read these things here? This content here? Like the people told me that only people from Australia can read it. I don't know. I don't know why. Actually, I tried and it was another level for me now. So, and like here we have the button. So if you click here, it will open like the other link and will show the informations about the tag it was mentioned there, these kind of things. And yes. In another point, we just do it like this, yes. We also created like this application the first time. That was also like it was working like a, what's the name, like a storybook for us at the first point. And then we created showing like all the components we had, like tooltips, like the image render, as I mentioned it to you, forms. And also here you can see this difference about like having one theme and the other one. So for example, we have this nodes theme, and then we have like the customer, the custom. And like if it's only a different JSON file, like with the same structure, with different colors. Like we are not changing more than that. And like all the components, they change based on these like images that in this JSON file that we have, for example. But later we decided that it was not good to understand, I think. So we just created this storybook to have a better documentation, and then also how to show it to the people afterwards. So you have like all these different themes here. Oh, it's so small there, right? Yeah, it's this. So you have all the like themes here, and then you can just change and see how it works. You can also like change the text, blah blah blah. And you have basically all the components we created here, like, and also variations for it. And just a second. And yeah, but if you look now and think, what are the benefits of using it? The first thing for us was that it was way easier to maintain, like the UI components we had. It was way easy. It was like, I remember that at some time we were using like 1 or 2 days to do some like maintenance code, and then we just like killed it, and it was amazing for us, because then we could have more time to go drink beer, talk more at the job, and play FIFA as well. That's a really cool thing. And also the code quality we had. As we were like creating all the components, and then making sure that everything that we created was being tested, like with snapshot testing for like most of the components, but also for some components, other components that we can like add behavior as well. We also are testing it. So we started making sure that everything that we had in production was working really well. And also, because we started having like a single source of truth across our applications, so every time that we updated this UI library, we just needed to run a script, and it was also updating across all the applications we had, and it were like 5 different applications at that time, and then it turned to 7, and it was like way easier to change all the components and to have UI consistency across all these applications. So if you look to this screen I just showed to you now, it was basically like joining like different components, like the job we had. For example, now if you look and like realize that all the components that we have here, like button, image render, table, pop-up menu, like the badges as well, everything we already had. So also the productivity that we had, like it was increased a lot, because we didn't have to think about UI, like how to create each component, because we already had all this information at only like in a single place. And then it turns out that like this thing about changing across applications and being the same person, we could kind of achieve that. We created a lot of different applications, as you see in the other side, and we managed to use the same components across all the applications, basically. And where to find it? It's under this link here. And also the slides, they are here at this link. If you want, you can take a picture now, or you can follow me on Twitter, like it's this Twitter handle here, and that then r_mdiers. And thank you so much. Do you guys have any questions?
So just a reminder, if you've got some questions, do post them into the Slack channel marked questions, and I can read some out. Let's see what we've got.
Actually, I don't have any.
What's for lunch? Okay, if anyone's got any questions about the presentation, or raise your hand and I'll run over with a mic. Are you all really just thinking about lunch?
Actually, I'm thinking about lunch as well. But
we got one all the way over here. You're making me work for this, aren't you? Thank goodness for all of those coffees.
Okay, so my question would be, what made you select style components over emotion? Because, well, I'm not entirely sure if I understand style components like 100%, but it's mostly made for React, whereas emotion has this advantage of being framework agnostic, so I can always use it with an Angular project or a Vue project as well. So what are the advantages you find using style components in general?
Thank you. So the first one was, you remember about, my man, he's not looking to me. So do you remember about like Sebastian guy I mentioned, the second guy? He had the background with styled components already. So it was one of the points. The second one was that styled components at that time, it had more support from the community. And as I mentioned, we didn't have a lot of background on it, so we wanted to be safe of like if we face some problem that's, I don't know, really, really hard to solve, we could go to Google and search for it. But actually, it was way easier than we thought when we started creating it. And as I mentioned to you also, as we were using React, and the company didn't have the plan to migrate it to another technology, we decided to go for styled components.
So, do we have another question? There's one round here.
Hello. How is this Luna UI different from Material UI or React Bootstrap? Isn't it the same concept? It is just customized for your application alone.
Mm-hmm. So first, we had one, when we were talking with the design team in the company, we decided that we wanted to have something that would be easier for us when we were creating the applications. So unfortunately, we couldn't use, for example, React UI and some other UI libraries that were out in the market. So we needed, the design team, they already had the UI library that they have in Sketch, for example. They had the components built already. So for them, it was way easier than for us. So it was a cooperation between the development team, the front-end team, and the design team. And then we also could have this, it was easier because then we could create the components we really needed to. And then it was covering more the needs we had, basically.
Do you have another question? I was just up there.
Yeah, hi. So I was just curious what your sort of long-term or medium-term plan is for the sort of life cycle of this library. Where now it's here and it's in production, presumably. Where is it going to go? Where do you see it in a year's time, 2 years' time? Are you thinking that far ahead?
Yeah. No. No, but the company, when we decided to create it, we first, of course, we needed to sell this idea to the engineering team and then everybody. So everybody agreed that we would support it for a while, at least for the next 2 years, because it's the time that the products that we are creating now, they will survive at least, because they are most of them not internal tools, but some tools that are not shown to the customer. And they have a life cycle of 3 years, usually. So basically, we decided that for the next 3 or 2 or 3 years, we will maintain it properly. And afterwards, it also depends for the community. If they decided that if it's being used outside of the company, why not we just maintain it? Because we have people from other companies that also started helping us in this project, so why not? Thank you.
Anyone else have another question? I saw a hand go up, but I think that was just a scratch of the head. All done? Going once? Going twice? It's time for morning tea. The next session, we've got 3 speakers. So have a look and see where you want to be. Have a nice cup of coffee. But before we go, please join me in thanking Rodolfo with a big round of applause. Thank you very much.